For years, the Skate franchise has existed as one of those franchises that fans would always talk about with a mix of nostalgia and longing. Skate 3 released in 2010, and for more than a decade, people begged EA to bring it back. Petition after petition, endless tweets, and the constant memeing of Skate 4 when finally wore EA down. In 2020, EA proudly announced that Skate would return under developer Full Circle.
We're back! We're doing it! Skate's happening, we're rolling!
For many fans, it was a dream come true. After a decade, a new Skate game was finally made official. But as more information started to release, that dream felt like it was turning into a nightmare.
You can't keep getting away with it!
And with the game now officially out in early access, EA is about to ruin Skate. And not because the core gameplay isn't fun, but because of the way the company has built it. I will continue to build it, monetize it, and package the experience. The return of Skate should have been the ultimate love letter to skating culture and the fans that stuck around for all those years, but everything about EA's business model and the way they've gone about with the game screams one thing: exploitation. When EA confirmed that the new Skate would be free to play, the announcement was met with cautious optimism. At first glance, the decision makes sense. Skateboarding as a culture has always been about accessibility. Making Skate free to play then sounds like a natural extension of that ethos. No upfront cost means more players can jump in, experiment with the systems, and share the experience. Theoretically, it tears down barriers, opening the door for a massive, thriving community. But the devil is in the details, and with EA the details always come with dollar signs attached. Free to play is not a charitable gesture, it's a business model. It isn't about giving players more, it's about ensuring they spend more over time. In EA's hands, free to play is a calculated trap, designed not to enrich the game but to maximise long-term revenue streams. We've seen this before. EA has dipped into the free-to-play and live service model across multiple franchises, with mixed and often disastrous results. Apex Legends remains the most successful example, but even Apex has been weighted down by expensive cosmetics, overpriced battle passes, and content locked behind relentless monetization. Players tolerate it because the game is polished and competitive, but Skate isn't Apex. It's not about winning matches, getting as many kills as you can, or getting victory royales. It's about self-expression, experimentation, and culture. Turning that into a monetization machine fundamentally misunderstands what makes Skate special. What's particularly cruel is that free-to-play can work, just not really under EA. A free-to-play Skate built around creativity and community could have been amazing, offering limitless custom content, modern tools and player-driven growth. But unfortunately, EA sees communities as wallets. Every aspect of the game seems to be designed not to celebrate culture, but instead monetize it. That is the double-edged sword of free-to-play. It promises freedom, but nearly always delivers control, especially when wielded by a publisher that values profit above all else. And in the end, free-to-play under EA, as we know, isn't really free. You may not pay to download Skate, but you'll pay with your time, your patience, and unlike the older days when you could simply own a copy of Skate 3 or Skate 2 and just play it forever, this version of Skate will live and die by EA's servers and monetization schemes. The cost may not be $60 at launch, but it could be far more devastating. And another thing that comes with a free-to-play game is monetization. At the heart of skateboarding lies a paradox. It's a deeply individual activity, yet inseparable from community. Every skater finds their own style, whether it's in the way they flick the board, the tricks they gravitate toward, or even the clothes they wear. But that individuality only comes alive when shared with others, when someone sees your line, your style, your vision. That's exactly what Skate captured so well in its prime. It was a game that empowered creativity, expression, and freedom. Customization is the lifeblood of a skating game. Of course, gameplay should always be the primary reason to play a game, but customization in Skate, whether it's your deck design, your wheels, your shoes, your hat, all of it speaks to who you are as a player. It serves as a source of expression. In previous games, customization was abundant and unlocked through challenges, sponsorships, or simply exploring the world. That sense of earning and discovering your look made it feel authentic and organic. But in a free-to-play EA environment, customization is exactly where the monetization hammer strikes first. Board, trucks, wheels, shoes, hats, hoodies, every piece of your identity has been placed in a store and now requires you to buy with real money. Real brands like Vans, Thrasher have been placed behind a paywall and combined into bundles with no actual way to get them through simply playing the game. They have introduced a free alternative with the loot box system that you can acquire through just playing, but for the most part they're disappointing, and having to grind out the same challenges in order to get them isn't as fun or rewarding as it was back in the older games, where every challenge was different and unlocks felt more organic. Also, why are we seeing skins like these in a skate game?
Why are you doing this? Why are you even thinking this way?
Okay, we are cooked.
What happened to the more grounded and realistic look of the previous games, especially the original Skate and Skate 2? They felt authentic, looked more realistic, and complemented the skating world. The new version of Skate has thrown all of that out the window, and instead replaced it with this Fortnite cartoonish look that, in my opinion, doesn't look anything like Skate. Although I'm someone who will always care more about gameplay rather than graphics, and the way a game looks, we can't ignore the fact that graphics are always the first things people notice. And when you see the way Skate looks, you wouldn't even be able to say that this is a Skate game. It looks like someone made Skate in Roblox. Now, why is this shift in the way this game looks so important? Well, it ties into monetization. This more cartoonish look that they have opted for allows them a lot more freedom when it comes to how crazy they can make their skins, and it didn't take long as this was in the store within the first few days already. And while EA may argue that these cosmetics are optional, they're anything but. In a game where individuality and style are the experience, cosmetics aren't just an extra feature. Charging for them isn't harmless, it's corrosive. It takes the very thing that makes Skate special and weaponizes it against the player base. Monetization also wraps the release structure of games. Instead of giving players everything up front, publishers now drip feed content across seasons, updates and events. It's their way of keeping players coming back, not because the game is overflowing with new ideas, but because players fear missing out. FOMO is one of the most effective and most manipulative monetization tools in the modern industry. EA has perfected it across FIFA Ultimate Team and Apex Legends, and now it's coming for Skate. There are several things missing from Skate already that have been confirmed to be coming with future seasons and updates. Tricks that were in older games are missing, time frames in the replay editor, which at the moment is horrible to use, are also missing. One of my personal favourite things, which was building your own skate parks, also is in the game and probably never will be, and many other things too. But at least the story is fully fledged out and was already working in the closed alpha section of the game, because at the end of the day, that is what they really care about. There are also several classic game modes missing. Death races, which were my personal favourite back in Skate 2, are missing. The classic skate mode is also absent, and most importantly, the Hall of Meat modes and feature has been completely gutted and changed, but at least I can climb buildings like Spider-Man and fly across the fucking map like Mary Poppins. And for the record, I don't have that much of an issue with these new features being implemented, but I just wish they just didn't have to replace all of the older things that many of us remember and love from the previous games. And what makes all of this quite upsetting is how fundamentally opposed it is to the very essence of skateboarding. Skateboarding has always been about rebellion, freedom and self-expression outside the mainstream, and it was something that the previous games, especially the first Skate and Skate 2, nailed down. Skating thrives on doing more with less, on taking public spaces and turning them into stages for creativity. Turning Skate into a monetization engine isn't just bad business for fans, it's a betrayal of the culture the game is supposed to represent. Instead of empowering players to define themselves, EA will be defining players through curated, monetized content packs. This isn't just about players being petty about these issues either, it's about the erosion of what Skate stands for, or what it at least once stood for. But if there's one thing that separates Skate from most other gaming franchises, it's the community that kept the series alive long after EA abandoned it. Skate 3 wasn't just a game that released in 2010 and quietly disappeared. For over a decade, the Skate community turned an old game into something timeless and kept Skate 3 alive. And perhaps most importantly, the Skate community never stopped asking for more. Year after year, fans bombarded EA press conferences with the same request: Skate 4 when? It became one of the gaming's longest running memes. Constant flood of pleas was a collective show of passion, a community telling a multi-billion-dollar company that they still care about this franchise long after EA seems to forget about it. In the end, that persistence worked. When EA finally announced the return of Skate in 2020, it wasn't because the publisher suddenly rediscovered its love for skateboarding culture, it was because the fans refused to let the franchise die. The community willed Skate back into existence, sheer determination forcing EA's hand. This wasn't a victory for corporate vision, it was a victory for players, or at least it seemed that way. But that is exactly why EA's current trajectory feels like such a betrayal. The community that fought so hard for Skate's return didn't do it so the series could be transformed into live service slop. They didn't rally for over a decade just to be handed a monetization platform disguised as a skateboarding game. The fans asked for authenticity, for the return to the series' roots. What they're getting instead looks like the exact opposite of that. There was also something insidious about how EA was leveraging nostalgia. They knew fans begged for this game. They knew the excitement for Skate was extremely high, and instead of honouring that enthusiasm with a faithful revival, they used it as leverage. Nostalgia becomes the hook, the bait to lure players into a monetization system. Fans spent decades building Skate's legacy. EA abandoned it, only to return once it was profitable to do so. And now they're using the same community that kept the series alive as the foundation for a live service business model. It's hard not to feel like the fans who fought hardest for Skate are the ones who are about to be punished the most. What EA may not realise, or simply they just don't care about, is that Skate's community is different from the player bases of Apex or FIFA. This isn't a mass market juggernaut with millions of casual players willing to throw money at microtransactions. It's a passionate, niche audience that values authenticity above all else. And with the Skate game that's been released, they risk alienating the very people who made this revival possible in the first place. And here lies the cruel irony. EA could end up killing the same community they've relied on to generate hype. If the fans who spent years begging for Skate feel betrayed, they won't stick around. They'll abandon the game. Not because they don't love Skate, but because what EA offers won't feel like Skate anymore. One of the defining features of the original Skate trilogy was its atmosphere. They were games you could pick up, skate around for 20 minutes and put down. No pressure, just you're bored in the streets of San Varnalone or Port Caverton. It was chill, the kind of vibe that mirrored real life skateboarding where the act itself was enough. But that freedom has been taken away by EA's insistence on an always online model for the new Skate. Instead of being a laid back sandbox where you could skate at your own pace, the game could no longer be played offline. When a game is always online, it doesn't truly belong to the player. You don't own Skate, you pretty much rent access to it, contingent on EA keeping the service running. If those servers go down, so does your game. If EA decides years down the road that maintaining them isn't cost effective, as they have done with other games, well, the game disappears entirely. EA has a long history of shutting down servers for older titles, often far sooner than fans would like. And once those servers are gone, so is the game. With an always online Skate, the very thing fans fought so hard to bring back could vanish again, but also not everyone wants to play in an all-connected world, especially when other players can place down objects and other things that actually impact you. The problem here is that Skate's unique identity is inseparable from its laid-back nature. Skate was always about expression, freedom and fun. Always online fundamentally undermines that personality. Instead of a game you can relax with, it becomes another live service obligation. Weirdly enough, it was easy to see this coming. If there's one thing EA has proven over the last 2 decades, is that they struggle to learn from their mistakes or simply choose not to. Time and again, they've taken promising games or beloved franchises and buried them under the weight of corporate mandates, rushed deadlines and predatory monetization. When you look at EA's history, it becomes difficult to believe that Skate will escape the same fate. Anthem was supposed to be a bold and new franchise, a competitor to Destiny with the backing of one of gaming's most prestigious studios. Instead, it was a hollow live service experiment, thin on content, plagued by technical issues, and utterly directionless. EA pushed the game out the door before it was ready, banking on the idea they could fix it later. But later never came, Anthem was quietly abandoned, and the once excited community was left with nothing but disappointment. Then there's Battlefield 2042, sold as the biggest, boldest Battlefield yet. It launched in 2021 as a broken, feature-starved mess. EA's obsession with model live service design gutted the experience. Core mechanics like classes were replaced with specialists, content was stripped down and delayed, with live service roadmaps promising to fill the gaps. It resulted in a game that alienated its core community, fractured its player base, and quickly became the worst Battlefield game of all time. Again, the lesson should have been clear. When you sacrifice authenticity and core identity for monetization and engagement metrics, you lose the audience that made the series successful in the first place. Even Need for Speed, one of EA's longest running franchises, has been dragged through the mud by inconsistent visions and live service experiments. Always online restrictions in Need for Speed Rivals, aggressive microtransactions and payback, and a general lack of identity have turned what was once a dominant racing series into an afterthought. Each time the franchise's DNA was diluted by EA's obsession with modernization. A modernization defined by monetization and engagement, not by fun or authenticity. It's painfully clear EA cannot resist prioritizing short-term profit over long-term player trust. They build systems not for creativity but for monetization. They design games not to be great at launch but to be platforms they can be milked over time. And when the community pushes back, EA either doubles down or quietly abandons the game. This is why the future of Skate looks so grim. Every sign points to EA repeating the same mistakes. The new Skate doesn't look like the game fans begged for. It looks like a product engineered to fit neatly into EA's catalogue of live service titles. Free to play, always online, monetized at every turn. The tragedy isn't just that EA will ruin Skate, the tragedy is how preventable it is. The blueprint for success is right there with the original trilogy: authentic mechanics, expressive creativity, and a respect for skate culture. We didn't need the game to reinvent the wheel, we just want a modern Skate that feels like Skate. So yes, Skate is back, but it's not the Skate fans wanted, it's not the Skate they begged for, it's not the Skate they kept alive for over a decade. And personally, although the game isn't like the older games that many of us fell in love with, it's still fun to play from time to time, and for those players that are enjoying it, I hope it doesn't suffer the same fate as most EA live service games do, because having a Skate game like this one still beats not having one at all.